What's up guys, it's James from CopLogic. Welcome back to the channel, and we have something to discuss today in regards to the end of Jörg Schmadtke's tenure at Liverpool. It's coming up this month, potentially. We're going to get into that. But what I want to take a look at is rumours floating around that we could see a return of Michael Edwards and Julian Ward, one or the other, or even both, which would be absolutely crazy. We're going to take a look into these rumours, where they started, how much truth there is to them, and discuss the ongoings with Jörg Schmadtke's contract and whether or not we are going to be looking for a new sporting director in the coming month. Let's dive into it. We're going to start with this rumor about Michael Edwards and Julian Ward and where it started. So after a little bit of digging, the first real reports I can find about this rumor come from IndyCar News. He's Liverpool ITK on Twitter, or X now, I guess. And if you don't know what an ITK is, I'm going to get into that in a second, but let's first just take a look at what he said. So he says, Liverpool's former sporting director Julian Ward is in talks with LFC to make a comeback. FSG also want Michael Edwards to make a return to LFC. Talks are at an advanced stage with Julian Ward. The initial meetings between Ward and Klopp were very positive. Now, first of all, there's only kind of name drops Michael Edwards, and it only really references talks with Julian Ward. So I think Michael Edwards, he might just be a little bit of clickbait in there, I'm going to be honest. And with regards to Julian Ward, I want to first just talk about IndyCar News and his reliability. I personally don't think IndyCar is reliable. He gets a lot of stuff wrong. He gets a little bit of stuff right. So, as I mentioned earlier, IndyCar News is an ITK. If you don't know what an ITK is, it stands for in the know, and these are essentially usually nameless and faceless Twitter accounts that report on generally leaks and news regarding football clubs. Now, every club has their own ITKs. Liverpool obviously have a number of ITKs. In terms of Liverpool, there are a few ITKs that are very reliable, seem to get very trustworthy information, and generally what they say does tend to come to light. Then you have a large number of ITKs in the business that are not trustworthy. There's a lot of bullshit going around, or they get bad information, and I would put IndyCar in that category as not really very trustworthy. Sure, he's got some things right, but generally he gets a lot wrong, and a lot of the time, for me personally, it feels like he's just making stuff up. And now, normally, if I think something's complete bullshit, I just wouldn't make a video on it, but I thought this was worth making a video on it because a respectable Liverpool ITK also put a tweet out about this Julian Ward situation. So LFC approved is another Liverpool-based ITK, and this guy's pretty trustworthy. As far as ITKs go, these are people that, you know, they're not journalists, or I mean, they could be journalists, but this is stuff that they're not authorized to talk about. I don't know. We don't know exactly who these people are. All we know is typically they're not journalists. They're people with links in the industry. They get information, they get leaks from trustworthy sources or so-called trustworthy sources, and they put that stuff out into the stratosphere online. And these are generally the places that leaks come from. And as I said, there are a couple that are trustworthy. LFC approved is one of them. Now, that's not to say that everything he says is going to happen or is true. We can tell from how much he gets right. He definitely has links in the industry, and he talked himself about the Julian Ward situation. So we're going to take a look at what he said. As of now, there is very little in the Julian Ward or Michael Edwards rumors. However, it would be one to keep an eye on. There has been recent dialogue with both about potential returns, but nothing is concrete. Ward is currently working towards other things. Liverpool are in search of a new lead sporting director, and I wouldn't be surprised if Jorg stayed to some degree, but not as a lead. This pretty much tells me that Michael Edwards is not happening. There's not enough information about the Michael Edwards thing. We know he left for a break. There's potential that he could return. He's had that break now. He could be looking for work, but I feel like there isn't enough information about Michael Edwards to suggest that there's any chance this really is going to happen, or that any of this information is concrete. With regards to Julian Ward, both ITKs mentioned that there have been talks with the club, but there will have been talks with a lot of people. That's not something to get excited about, in my opinion, really. Yes, they've spoke to them and said, would you like to return? And we don't really know how those talks have gone, whether they were positive or negative. I think there's probably been talks with a lot of people. We know the club are going to be looking for a new sporting director, so just because they've spoke to Julian Ward and potentially Michael Edwards does not mean they're coming back. All I'm saying is, until we get more concrete information from a trustworthy source, this is not something to get excited about, certainly not something to get your hopes up about. But if it was to happen, it would be absolutely massive for Liverpool Football Club, because we know the CVs of both of these guys. We know what they can do, especially with a shoestring budget that FSG often give Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool Football Club. So if this was to happen, I think it would be absolutely huge, especially if we end up selling Salah next summer. The money we get for him, one of these guys with their expertise could do something as impactful as the Alisson and Virgil van Dijk signings were with the Coutinho money. So it would be absolutely huge if we got one of these names back. Now, obviously, at the moment, we've got Jörg Schmadtke as our sporting director. It was reported originally that he was signed on a 3-month contract, but it's now thought to be a 12-month contract with a review at 3 months to stay on. This is coming from Jorg directly with an interview he did where he seemed to speculate that that was the case. Now, he started that role on the 1st of June, so that review, that 3-month review, is coming up this month. So we're going to know very soon whether Jörg Schmadtke is going to stay at Liverpool or is going to move on. We don't have any concrete information really on any other sporting directors outside of the fact we know Liverpool are looking, because it seems like they have spoke to Julian Ward. Whether or not it's been positive, whether or not there's any chance he comes back, we don't know at this stage. If you were to ask me for my opinion, I don't think Jörg Schmadtke stays as the sporting director, but I think he probably at least sees out the 12 months, maybe as a transfer consultant or something like that. We're certainly going to need him in this interim while they look for a sporting director, because we generally need someone. We don't want to leave that on Jurgen Klopp. He's got enough on his plate as it is. And so I think the first thing we've got to ask ourselves is, has Jörg Schmadtke done a good job in this transfer window? Would you want to keep him on, or do you want to look for a new sporting director? And I think, you know, in the 3 months that he's been here, he's had this one transfer window to work in. Apart from release clauses, he's actually only negotiated for Ryan Gravenberch. That's not true. He also negotiated for Caicedo and Lavia. We know that went very badly. And in terms of Gravenberch, he pretty much paid the asking price that Bayern wanted. So how much negotiation actually went on there, I'm not sure. Certainly nothing to write home about. I'm not convinced about Jörg Schmadtke at all, personally. I think what went down with Caicedo especially was ridiculous. It's not how Liverpool do business. It's clear that that's how he does business, and it hasn't worked for us. It didn't work with Lavia, it didn't work with Caicedo. I'd rather he didn't stay on as sporting director, but that does mean we'd have to get someone in. We can't just let him go and be back throwing caution to the wind without a sporting director. So I want to get someone in first. So for me, I would keep him on the 12-month thing, but I would be looking for and actively trying to get someone in way before that happens, before January if possible, and then you can move him on to like a transfer consultant or something like that. With regards to Julian Ward, who I think out of the two, Ward and Edwards, is the most potential for him to come back. He was obviously responsible for the McAllister deal before he left. He did most of the work on that, so you can't even really attribute that to Jörg Schmadtke. That was a really good deal and an exceptional bit of business, and it was pretty much all done by Julian Ward, signed and sealed by Jörg Schmadtke when he came in, but he didn't really do that much work. And we also know Ward signed Luis Diaz. He did most of the work there under Michael Edwards and was responsible for bringing in Darwin Núñez, two players that I think have been hugely impactful for Liverpool since their signings. It feels like Núñez is going to have a big season. We know what Luis Diaz is capable of already. Would I want Julian Ward back? Absolutely, I'd want him back. I think he learnt a lot under Michael Edwards. I think there's probably a little bit more that we can't be 100% on that he probably had a hand in as well, but we know he had a hand in that Luis Diaz deal. And of course, everyone knows about Michael Edwards. It's, you know, everyone wants Michael Edwards back. Basically, every superstar under Liverpool, under Jurgen Klopp's tenure, Michael Edwards has been responsible of. We're talking Mo Salah, Virgil van Dijk, Andy Robertson. What a deal that was, signing him from relegated Hull. I mean, the guy's list is incredible. Alisson, Fabinho, Diogo Jota, many stellar names over recent years. Only a few misses. You know, Naby Keita, Takumi Minamino, who, by the way, I love. Big up Takumi Minamino. He's having a great season at the moment at Monaco. Probably shouldn't have let him go, in my opinion, but we did. There we go. Anyway, we move. Michael Edwards would have won it back, yes. Julian Ward would have won him back, yes. Getting both of them back would be absolutely huge. We'd be title contenders in no time. I fully believe that, especially with the money we could potentially get from Mo Salah. But is it gonna happen? That's what everyone wants to know. That's what you're all here for. In my opinion, I don't think it is gonna happen. I don't think there's anything in the Michael Edwards thing. I don't think there's enough information to suggest it. I think it's just a name that's being tacked onto Julian Ward. It does seem like Liverpool have spoke to Julian Ward, but what you've got to ask yourself is, why did Julian Ward leave? There has to have been a reason he left the club in the first place, and there hasn't been enough time between then and now for me to suggest that whatever it was he was unhappy with at Liverpool Football Club has changed. There's some speculation it was even Jurgen Klopp who just wanted too much of a hand in the transfer business and the targets that we were going for. Now, I don't want to speculate on that because we don't know that that's true. All I will say is, whatever reason Julian Ward left for, I just can't see that that would have been fixed in this limited amount of time. So there had to have been a reason, and I just don't think he comes back for those same reasons, personally. I'd love him to come back, but I don't think there's much in this. I think the thing to keep an eye on, though, is that Liverpool are looking for a sporting director. That's clear. I don't think Jörg Schmadtke worked. I don't think anyone could think that that has been a good experiment. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about Jörg Schmadtke. I have to say, I think it's been a good window. In terms of the signs we've got in, I think it's been a good window, but the problem is it's been a very messy window. The Caicedo situation does not sit well with me, and he is responsible for that. We could have done a lot better business in terms of just keeping our nose down and getting stuff done. Things did need to go how they went with Chelsea, and we ultimately lost our primary target in Romeo Lavia via that stuff. So I personally don't want to see Jörg Schmadtke in after this month. I'd rather we started looking for another sporting director. Do I think it's going to be either Julian Ward or Michael Edwards? No, but I would absolutely love it to be them. If we get any more concrete information on either of them, we will of course update you guys on the channel. We like to make sure everything we report on is concrete, and we don't want to lie to anyone. So right now I would say that I don't think this is going to happen, but Liverpool are looking for a sporting director. So let me know in the comments what you guys would like to see in terms of changes in Liverpool's recruitment. Do you want to see Jörg still in? How much would you like to get Julian Ward or Michael Edwards back? And as always, if you want to stay up to date on this situation and everything else happening with Liverpool Football Club, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. And if you are enjoying the content, give us a like. And as always, we will see you guys in the next video. Peace.